Hey, stream. I think, no, notice that. No time for Bombing Angel. We'll hold off on that one. That was a bit much. That's a bit heavy to go straight into. So that was FF7, Bombing Run from the Distant Worlds soundtrack, which I have seen two of the soundtracks, two of the Distant Worlds, the Worlds live concerts, and they're amazing. I saw the big one with all the lights and the screens and everything like that, and I also saw the smaller one that was a bit more just simple orchestral. Both fantastic. Definitely suggest people going and seeing those live concerts if you're a fan of live music. I think I just setting up quickly still. Just trying to find a good image. Being eluded of a good image today. Keep getting sent to videos and things, annoyingly. That's not good. That's not good. We need a good one. So yeah, I don't know if I've talked about 7 on stream, but as you can tell, I'm quite excited. I do like FF7 an awful lot. I'm a massive Final Fantasies fan. So this was sort of inevitable for me to talk about on stream, I believe. Let's wait, I need to switch. There we go, that's better. So let's switch on over to the gaming chat for today. So might turn down the music a slight. This. So I do want to cover FF7 Remake's final trailer and all the little details that me and my friends have talked about. But before we do that, we should probably cover some other news. There's a little bit, not a huge amount. It is a Saturday, so for me, so there's generally not an insane amount of news. Usually the news cycle sort of midweekish, but there's a few little things that I think it's worth talking about today. First one was sort of out of the blue, but kind of expected at the same time, which was IGN announces Summer of Gaming event in June. So many people who follow the games industry and know about what had been happening over the year, and especially with how COVID's been developing, is that the E3 being cancelled was probably one of the biggest ones of the entire year. E3 being the biggest press conference for reveals, and the big three being Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft generally revealing stuff. This is also the year that we're probably going to see that physical, like, new consoles in action for both the Xbox and the PlayStation. So the next generation being so close around the corner, this was leaning up to be a very big E3. Seeing a lot of new gen tech, development, software, just a whole heap of reveals that probably would have been happening over this year. But because of COVID and its impeding of physical conferences and all that sort of stuff, the debate on what was going to happen over the year. How are they going to do this? The two consoles are probably still going to be coming out at their same estimated times, is what we've seen in articles and what they've talked about. But we had this announcement, which I felt like was inevitable, is I felt like quite a few companies that are like, if E3 is not going to happen, if they're not going to organize any sort of proper platform for a lot of those bigger developers, that the industry will work around them and they will have something will come about, whether it be just a purely digital, them each individually doing their thing, if E3 had organized something themselves. But it seems that IGN is trying to take the lead here, and they have announced a Summer of Gaming event. Again, it's hard to judge just how big this will be, because this is a new thing in terms of, like, we've had digital conferences and things like that before, but we've never had them to a degree where they need to do this, they need to get involved. And IGN boasting that they will be including 2K, Square Enix, Sega, Bandai Namco, Amazon, Google Stadia, Twitter, Digital Evolver, THQ, Nordic, and more. Now, we noticed that they haven't actually mentioned the big three there, but those are all big AAA developers, or ones in the sort of similar sphere. So like Amazon, Stadia, and Twitter, they're sort of like, will be funny. They're always sort of that sort of businessy side stuff, because they're not fully in the development tech sphere of the games industry. But yeah, some of the others, like getting Square Enix, Sega, and Bandai Namco, and THQ, there's some big pulls. So if their plan is that they're going to be releasing content of and having like their essential split up of E3 over a period of time, then we'll start probably seeing stuff like I've talked about it before, that this holding back of the consoles must be devastating for, in terms of reveals, for companies, those AAA companies, because they can't talk about their game, they can't talk about their next-gen game until the next-gen consoles are officially talked about by those companies. So them having to hold back would be super bad in terms of cost, marketing loss, and being able to prep buyers for when the consoles come out and just keep that excitement going and awareness of their companies. So as much as people don't like marketing at times, it is very important that these things need to happen. So outlets like this are probably going to be where that happens. Yeah, I'll just see if there's any other information I kind of want to talk about. There's like, it's mostly just IGN posting about themselves, but it sounds like it definitely just feels like a step up to the plate, that the first one there, they want to get in there. So, and their plan is to kick it off in early June. So it's currently the start of April now. So they've got really 2 months to sort of get this all prepped out, and that's a good amount of time for at least figuring out the framework of it. I don't know if they've been planning it for much longer, but them announcing it now suggests that they probably have. So, yeah, it'll be interesting. I'm excited. So, after that, shortly after that announcement, this announcement appeared in my stream and a lot of other news places, which was the ESA, the company that organizes E3, or who recently, I think they purchased it a few years back. They are talking about a reimagined E3 that was originally planned for 2020, has now been cancelled, and it's going to happen June 15th, 2021. So a year delay for E3, but as I said before, with their absence in the industry, it'll be curious to see how much they're going to lose because of that. Because it's only going to take, like, if a year passes and the industry figures out a method that they want to present the information that was in E3 to audiences around the world in a new format, companies might just take it upon themselves. Other companies might set up to the plate, and their relevancy will dwindle in a state that I would say, because of ESA's changes over the past few years, that they were already on a slippery slope, and a lot of companies pulling out. Like the fact that Sony wasn't going to be at E3 this year, and Nintendo was going to have some sort of presence again, but they don't really need to have a proper one because they go through the direct methods now. Microsoft was still sort of like wanting to bring everyone together, like, but we've had other places that have had all the things that E3 needed or was known for through the past 3 years, whether it be like Gamescom or the Japanese conferences or the Game Awards and things like that. So now them pushing that back a year might do some real damage to the ability to have E3 as a full fleshed out entity still. But time will tell. This will be an interesting year for sure. It's going to be pretty chaotic for the games industry just in general. Not for just because in all elements, development, marketing, new generation, how publishers want to deal with things. It's going to be very, very interesting. Physical copies. Yeah. So that's probably the general news for today. Oh, and there's also one more, which is another personal one that I'm interested in, is Platinum Games announcing that they will have a 5th announcement. It's taking a while to load. So we don't know what the 5th announcement will be. They only had a plan 4, but I don't know if this is due to... Wow, this is interesting. Either this is destroying my computer, or this website is got a weird load on it. Might close that. So we'll just find a random article. Yeah, we'll go to an IGN one. So yeah, so the star is tagged on Double Cross 2020. They teasing that they'll tease players by revealing a 4th announcement on April Fool's Day. So it seemingly was a joke. I mean, we previously saw this trailer, which I can play now because we hadn't seen. I don't think I played this on stream, which is Platinum's reveal for their new game, which appears to be a game that is similar to some of their other action-y hero ones, but this one is going to be more sort of kaiju-like, where you have a Ultraman-style character that you play as, probably, and versus some monster. But the idea that they had an announcement, another announcement coming, is probably interesting to people, because the fact that their last one was their big one in terms of they have set up an extra studio, which to general game fans, that's like, oh, whatever, it's just business talk. But it's a big deal for Platinum because they've been constantly increasing in size and development, and they've been trying to figure out as how they are as a business and tackling just various projects. But that's such a good shot. But yeah, like if they have an entire new studio, they will be able to develop bigger, grander projects and they can train more staff. Like they can become a proper, like I don't know if their goals are to become AAA or anything like that, but as a AA one that goes through publishers, and they won't have to have problems, like example, they won't have problems with like the scale bound issue. Them working on Babylon's Fall, they'll have more people work on it. Bayonetta 3 will finally be revealed. Like it's just, there's just so many things that can happen by them having this. So hopefully the 5th announcement is going to be exciting. But yeah, but that's that. I think that's the most of the news I wanted to cover today. Then I think we should watch this. I think we should watch this chat. So I'm gonna pause the music. Screen.
So Cloud, you were a soldier first class, right?
Yeah.
Weird.
Really? What's weird about it?
Nothing. Just that you were the same rank.
Huh? As who?
So I think they've done a very good job transitioning the touching moments that were in chat into this fully animated, dialogue-focused scene.
Yes, Aerith is an ancient. Probably the last one living.
You know you're not just any little girl. You're a descendant of the ancients.
So you can tell that there's going to be some changes. Like we already knew from previous trailers, but seeing all this stuff here, they've definitely rejiggered a whole heap of scenes together, and the game's flow is going to be different in terms of story. So for hardcore fans like myself, hopefully they're taking it with a grain of salt. But yeah, it's interesting that this game has changed quite a lot and is probably going to introduce quite a set of new things. But yeah, there's that's a good frame. So I've talked about this with friends where it's like it's kind of like comparing, like, say EVA or FMA versus FMA Brotherhood. Like it's kind of the type of thing where, EVA being Evangelion, where taking an IP that has got an established universe, established lore, story progression, and then flipping the script, and it's the same type of world, the same type of story, but it's addressing different topics and fleshing out other ones, or adding more content in different areas. It's telling a similar story, not the same story. And that if people are going into this expecting they want them to do it by the letter, they're going to be very disappointed. But I think this method allows them to, for a different, how they're developing a very different style Final Fantasy game, this needed to happen. This just needed to happen for the game. Otherwise, it would be just so incohesive and you wouldn't get a very fleshed out story. Like, the fact that everything takes place in Midgar, when Midgar is maybe 1/10 of the start of the game, it's a very short segment. Like, it's only maybe like 2 hours out of like a 100-hour game, sort of thing. It's like, it's very, it's probably more than that, but it's not long at all. But yeah, so it's nice to see they're showing off more characters just in general. We're going to have a lot more personality and side characters. There seems to be extra stories going on. So like these bandits, which I'm assuming just bandits in the area. This seems to be this guy who's after Tifa. We have these two brothers who seem to be running what appears to be the Gold Sources Arena in Don Canelo's like his base where he lives, where all his stuff is. So the underbelly of Midgar is getting more highlight. I might actually put a big old thing on the screen actually. Is text screen. Spoiler alert. Leave it up the top there. I might actually put a background on it. Not in the background. Make it bigger. I don't want anyone joining and then being like, what are you talking about this without font size, make it bigger. Yeah, I'm not gonna talk. So there are. I'm only gonna go through this trailer. I'm not gonna go through some of the other stuff in terms of some people probably going to leak stuff. You're probably going to find people who are going to put stuff online in terms of spoilers to the end of this story, because like I was talking about, this isn't remake is only up to the end of the Midgar story, but it's going to have a different ending. There is no way that it isn't, and this trailer is going to exemplify that, and I will talk about it. But you have a situation where people can now spoil a story that people didn't think we were going to be able to be spoiled on, because it's got new content. It's different. This is a different game. We'll stress again that this is a different game. So, like I was saying, it looks like they're probably merging the Gold Saucer into Don Cornello. You are probably going to see some little, like those mini games that we saw in the trailer of Cloud doing like exercises and things like that. All those sorts of weird things that were kind of probably part of the Gold Saucer, all are probably going to be there for sure. There's a cut we will see. There's, like, you can see there's so many new characters, and as far as I'm aware and other people are aware that I've seen, these are new characters. They're not side story characters that, or side quests that have been fleshed out into other characters. And there's like some very much Nomura style design getting really heavy pushes in here, and they look fantastic. Like, so many of these characters look great. The children are probably the only thing that I kind of feel funny about, because again, they are. It's the same issue I have with quite a few Japanese games, and they have adults doing the mocap for children's faces, and the faces don't quite look right. Like, Marlene looks alright here, but when Cloud and Tifa were talking as children, like, Tifa's face here, I get some extreme Kingdom Hearts vibes from it. But it's nice to see, like, the news reports being done. This is a cute character. I'm really into her. I want to know more about this character. Very Nomura style. So some of these scenes I could cover. I've talked about last night. I had a massive discussion with friends. I was talking about for hours and hours and hours about this. This trailer has so much in it in terms of what you could like think about, and we sort of came to an agreement that it's like these trailers are put together in a way to make the person who knows the original story question everything and be like, oh, we have these assumptions of how the world will work and what's going to happen. And it's like, well, is it going to? What's this mean? What could this mean? What could that mean? Like pieces like this, like, why is Tifa talking to a Shinra employee? But yeah, I'll go in that in a little bit. But who are these guys? Like, there's just some old men here who seem to interact with from Shinra, and seem to be wanting the company to be dealt with by Avalanche, which is bizarre. I love this. I love being able to see more of President Shinra. I love seeing the board members. Hojo being there, that's a big deal. Hojo being there, for people that don't know. Hojo, like, still being at the offices moments before President Shinra's death. There's this new character he seems super fun. I can't wait for that. It's very Advent Children. Higa Digger, I think he looks sick now. Still think he should be a silly looking fat old man, but that kind of has been replaced by I've forgotten his name. The one that attacks you at Sid's village. It looks like you get to spend time playing as Aerith a bit, protecting people, informing people more about these ghosts, which my guess is that they are probably very likely to be ancients. They're probably not bad guys, but it's hard to tell right now, especially because they're referred to as whispers, which is what Aerith referred to as whispers talking to her in the forest of the ancients. Yeah, there's a line of dialogue in the previous trailer where people were like, oh, that's Aerith talking, but it's like, is it really Aerith talking, or is it she talking on the behalf of the whispers? Because it's very similar dialogue to what she said when she was possessed. You have Reno looking fucking sick. I love the Turks so much. The Turks are some of my favorite characters in RPGs. Reno and Rude look so good in this game. It looks like Hojo releases the abomination that attacks you before you get red. So Hojo is there. Hojo is in the tower. And that wasn't really a thing in the original game. So that's sort of a big deal, because Hojo is meant to be leading Cloud down the path of becoming a Sephiroth clone. And he has a lot of... He thinks Cloud is the one. Cloud might be able to do it, despite everything else. I like Slang getting more screen time, and he looks a lot more manipulative, a lot more evil. Rude being a fucking badass in that scene. I love that cut so much. This is so good. I can't wait for that fight. Some of the I'm looking forward to a humanoid boss fights, because we haven't had that in the demo, and we haven't really seen much of them in trailers. But, the real humanoid boss, though, Rufus, getting revealed here. We get to see his new design. He looks fantastic. Again, Sephiroth being here, man. Sephiroth, like, just the idea that Sephiroth is here is crazy to me. And it's it's up for debate. We were talking about back and forth a while last night in terms of what is that Sephiroth? Is that really Sephiroth? Is it one of the clones? Is it a manifestation in Cloud's mind? Like, it's unclear. These trailers are cut in such a good way that it's unclear. So there's probably minor bike segment, multiple bike segments, because we see Cloud riding the bike with Jessie, and unfortunately we know what happens to Jessie. Then you also have Cloud seeming to ride the bike at Shinra Tower, probably during the escape, I would imagine, but not sure. And then you have this section. There also seems to be a segment where it's Cloud fighting the guy on the bike, and it's just Cloud by himself, so we don't know if that guy survives all the way to this end segment. Red being smarmy, it's fantastic. That looks like the bike segment's good. We got the helicopter fight. Cloud sneaking in. So this scene, I still don't know what to make of this scene. This is one of the biggest things that I keep coming back to. This was in the last trailer too, where you saw outside of Midgar. Everything is meant to take place in Midgar. But where are they then? Is this in like the outer skirts of Midgar that's sort of leading down into the underground? Cloud and Aerith seem to be gathering flowers together. I don't know if this is how the flowers get into the church. But it looks like they're adding that sort of stuff to it, which I'm cool with, adding a little bit more to Midgar more than just the industrial parts of it. Aerith helping the villagers escape the plate, I would imagine. The final reactor. And then he's here! The man we were waiting for. The Monster House is here, and Monster House is a boss rather than a mob. So there's a couple of mobs they've turned into bosses, or at least mini bosses, and it looks like Monster House kind of they had to have done this to it. So this looks like in Don Carnello's arena. It looks like it has multiple phases similar to the other demo ones we've fought. We get to see a bit more Ifrit. We see Shiva attacking what appears to be another mini boss, which looks like one of the Reapers. I think that's what they're called. But death on a horse, death on a chariot, and so it's like likely that's probably another mini boss. We get to see Rufus. Okay. Watch this scene. I'm not going to talk over it. Just watch this scene. How good was that? How fucking amazing is that? He launches the coins into the air to distract Cloud. He then aims his shotgun at the ground and launches himself at Cloud. Fantastic. Rufus, massive badass in this. And he is the owner of the Turks. So the Turks follow Rufus, and you can see why. So Rufus with his dog, the Dark Nation, I think it's called. Dark Nation. So you're gonna have to fight Robo-Dog and Rufus. So that's the first glimpse we've had at a humanoid fight. Rufus getting fucking destroyed here. I mean, a Cloud versus Rufus is a no contest, unfortunately. Cloud is very strong, even before he starts powering up through the adventure he has through 7. He's a very strong, special little boy. We see this scene, which is new. So this is a big deal. So this was I lost my mind when I saw these next few scenes. So, oh no, I froze for a sec. Am I good? There we go. I'm back. That was weird. So, President Shinra pointing a gun at Barrett. They didn't see each other. When you arrive with your party, President Shinra is dead. He's being killed by Sephiroth. You don't have this interaction.
Every time the whisper.
This is a little scene to insinuate that she is becoming more of an ancient. She's more figuring out her goals, I imagine.
First touch me.
That's if those whispers are what I think they are. I'm fairly sure they are just the spirits of the ancients. And you'll notice that anywhere that Sephiroth appears, they seem to be following, either trying to protect Aerith from him, or they are being manipulated by Genova and Sephiroth. So then suddenly this happens. So this is a massive spoiler alert. This one's crazy. Barrett getting stabbed at the top of Shinra Tower by Sephiroth. So throughout all the trailers, we've had a continuous stream of, is that really Sephiroth? What's going on? Is it one of the clones? So in the original game, the clones were black hooded individuals that you didn't get to see at all, really. Like, you didn't know that, like, it just, they are Sephiroth clones. You just got told that. You didn't see, unless you were trying to be thought it was Sephiroth, that where you see him around. So in the cutscene at the top of Sephiroth, at the top of Shinra Tower, you saw Sephiroth kill President Shinra, which it turns out it's a clone. It's not actually him. But in this case, is that really what is happening? Because those clones are parts of Genova that Sephiroth is controlling. So we will see in the other trailer, I might actually show a bit of the other trailer to talk about that too. I didn't want to make this into a massive, crazy long, because I'm thing talking about 7, but I think I might end up just talking about 7 a lot here. I need to talk about 7. It's my stream, I can do what I want. So, Sephiroth appears to be here, but is that really the case? We get a couple of frames here. When Sephiroth appears, he sort of just appears out of nothing. Sephiroth has appeared to gain the ability to teleport in 7 by the time you control Cloud, but he does seem to teleport here, and it could be, there's no clear indication if it's actually Sephiroth or the clone, but there's a scene coming up in a moment that I want to show. So you can also see in Sephiroth also, as he appears, you see him go from here to here, but what makes him move, you'll notice, is this big blur, which appears to be one of the ghosts. So again, it's hard to tell if the ghosts are working for Sephiroth or they are just there whenever he's around. Barret gets stabbed, so we know Barret survives, but that we might have a scene where we find Barret on the ground, Sephiroth is gone, and President Shinra is dead. But the thing is, at this point, the only people that know about Sephiroth are the top executives of Shinra, Hojo, Cloud, Tifa, because of their home village, and yeah, that's basically it. There's very few. Rufus and his group and the Turks. But Barret learns about Sephiroth properly here. So the group will have to learn about Sephiroth properly, fully, by the end of the Midgar arc, rather than you learning over the next few chapters in the original game. So Rufus going through his plan of taking over, so that's after the duel with Cloud. Then you have this, a storm of wisps. So I won't talk about spoilers because I have seen a few things back when stuff started to get leak about a few months ago. I did see some things, but the ending, I'm now very curious what the ending of this game will be because of this scene plus the other thing that I have seen. So this happens.
Destiny together. Cloud, there's still so much to be done.
So Sephiroth summons Meteor. Or is it? Meteor is the major plot driving point of FF7's conclusion. It is the eminent thing in the sky that is coming to destroy the planet. Sephiroth gets a hold of the black materia through manipulation of Cloud and his group to summon Meteor to destroy the planet so he and Genova can move on and continue to destroy other planets. Sephiroth seemingly is in Midgar right now, summoning a meteor-ish style ability. You see it engulf a large portion of the city. A firestorm of fire and giant ball in the sky. That is not anything that happens in Midgar. This is completely new. And it makes me question, is this really Sephiroth or is it a clone? Because we know the clones aren't that powerful. As strong as Genova is and her individual parts, she is not that strong as far as we know. This thing seems strong. I don't think this is an illusion with all the destruction we're seeing. I'm fairly sure that's Sephiroth.
Together. Cloud. There's still
And then you have Sephiroth in the core, with people pointing out how similarly this looks to Shadowbringers' sort of color palette they used in their cutscenes. But yeah, it was just such a crazy thing to see. And then one more thing to talk about in terms of this just as a playthrough. This kicker to the end of the trailer. So we have a giant old orb of wisps, and what appears to be a first-class soldier with a sword. My instant reaction was seeing this was, oh shit, it's Zack. They're showing something of Zack. So is this happening in the past when Cloud and Zack escaped after being experimented on by Hojo, and they make their way back to Midgar, and this is what they're greeted with? Or is this after the events of whatever remake is in this first one, and that's what Midgar looks like? Midgar's left to this swarm destroying this place or protecting it, whatever it might be. So I don't know what the answer is here, but it did make me question. I had to really stop and ask the question, is this the only one of remake? Is Final Fantasy VII Remake the only one of this? In terms of, is there only one part, or is there multiple parts? Because everyone been questioning that for a long time. It's only set in Midgard. There's no way they can tell the entire story. That doesn't make sense. You can't have the entire story. You can see that so much has been rejiggered in this entire trailer and all the other trailers. This is a different game. Completely different game. But they're telling the same story. And if they intend to have the same ending, there's no way that this can be the final. So there was no clarification for the longest time. Journalists around the world asking the question, and fans, is this part one? What is this? Is this is just a segment of it? Are you just going to leave the story half done? What's happening here? What is your plan with this game? I won't find it, or maybe I will. Hang on, see if I can find it. I kept asking the question because no one would give me an answer. But it seems to be that we did get an announcement through media, because everyone was confused about this. So Jason Schreier took it upon himself, no thanks, to reach out to Square and get an answer about if this is the only one, because it wasn't clear. It really wasn't clear. But they came back with a press announcement, which was, is a reimagining of the iconic game, redefined the RPG genre, diving deeper into the world and its characters than ever before. This is the first game in the project and will be set in the eclectic city of Midgar, and presents a fully standalone game experience that provides a great starting point to the series. So Jason Schreier was talking about how the box didn't clarify this very well at all. And I've saw lots of discussion, people upset about this, the fact that it's not being presented as this is the first. I have issue with the fact that it wasn't presented that way, but it's understandable in terms of marketing why they did this sort of stuff. You know, whatever. But you have this on the back of the collector's edition. The story of the first standalone game in the Final Fantasy VII Remake project, called the Final Fantasy VII Remake Project. It covers up to the party's escape of Midgar and goes deeper into the events occurring in the city than the original, deeper than the events in the original game. So this isn't fake, apparently. These are people that have the physical copy that got early. There's lots of people that haven't. That's why leaks will be out there, so be careful in terms of, if you don't want spoilers outside of the trailers, these things will be out there. People will talk about this stuff. But in this case, we have clarification on the box art and here that this isn't the only. So this means that this final scene could be more than just Zack on the side there. Yeah, definitely a redo, definitely a lot of changes. I think that it's exciting to see so much change. I'm excited for an action game that is, I'm going to be honest, I wasn't a fan of 13 and 15. As a huge FF fan and an action game fan, both those games left me very disappointed. I'm a big fan of 14. I play all that, so it's like, it's sad to have the MMO doing so well, but the mainline series doing so bad. Maybe this remake is what Square needed to get themselves back into gear to making a full-fleshed RPG experience. It's very cinematic. They've outdone themselves, but it's feels like this has been a long time coming, and I think that even though people will probably be a little bit shocked to the system as long-time fans, learning that this is a different game and it's a different storytelling, but they will, I think, will have an enjoyable experience. I'd be shocked if this is not many people's game of the year. This seems like a very, very, very good, polished game. Hold me to those words. I want to be right. I really want to be right. 15 left me in a sad place, like a really sad place for this franchise. Yeah, I was actually going to go through and compare some of the other things and talk about some of the other stuff that, like, my theories in terms of the universe. Like, we've seen Genova and stuff. The what is happening in this scene. Like, I have other theories around that, but I think that's probably enough me rambling about this. I would imagine lots of people are doing very similar discussions out there, so lots of people probably have lots of little takes, lots of things that I probably haven't noticed. So if you're curious, go explore the internet. I'm fairly sure people will be talking about stuff, but be careful, because very likely there will be spoilers, because it didn't take me very long of digging to try and find the box art for 7 to accidentally come across some screenshots that probably will be leaking in various places soon enough. Where are we? This one? Yeah. So, only thing I will leave you with is big moments. There's some big things here. Hojo is in the opening game. You have Nova is in the game. Where are we? Where's the Genova encounter? Is this the right trailer? Leviathan.
Genova.
Here we go. Genova. So, the end of Remake is going to have a lot of big bosses. That's all I think about it right now. This is going to be a very, very crazy RPG. We are returning to a JRPG, troped JRPG. And I'm very excited. So, I think that I'll leave it there. See, one more thing.
My power to help all of you and the planet.
Alright. I think that's enough talking about 7 for today. Might talk about it more. I will be playing this on... I very likely will be playing this on stream. I'll very likely be playing it post-game as well. It sounds like there's going to be extra content and post-game content, so look forward to that. I might try and talk about it a little bit more over the coming days if I hear any more news things, my thoughts. But yeah. Time to switch over to Animal Crossing, I believe. I will be right back.